Jerusalem, a city that is at the center of three major religious faiths, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. There has been fighting over this city for more than 3,000 years. Jerusalem today remains a divided city. There is a Jewish sector, an Arab sector, and a Christian sector. The people of different faiths often tolerate each other, but many remain suspicious of one another, and they fear their neighbors. Israeli soldiers with guns are everywhere, here in the heart of the Holy Land. But there is a man who walks these dangerous streets without any weapons. He leads a group which does not represent any government or political party. This man and this group have only one goal. They would like for Arabs and Jews to live in peace. The man is Jerry Levin, who grew up as a Jew, and the group he belongs to now is called the Christian Peacemaker Team.
I understood, and I think still understand correctly, notwithstanding some very, very conservative Christians' interpretations, that the Sermon on the Mountain is unequivocally a nonviolent statement, that love cannot exist or be compatible with violence of any kind.
Jerry Levin is not alone in seeking peace. Others from different faiths have joined the call for nonviolence and for better treatment of all inhabitants of this holy land. Rabbi Jeremy Milgron is making friends with Bedouin Arabs who have been forced out of their land by Israeli settlers. The rabbi wants his Jewish government to treat its Arab neighbors with justice.
They're aware of injustice, but they're not. They're into denial. They don't let it register too much, the fact that there is so much injustice.
Ahmed El-Azeh is a young Muslim who is urging Palestinians to renounce violence and to become peace builders.
I believe in peace, and I believe that we have to reassure our people to let them have the hope of peace if they lost it for any reason.
This small private peacemaker team hopes to succeed where soldiers and governments have failed. They know the road ahead is filled with obstacles and suspicion and mistrust as a result of decades and centuries of hostility. When asked why the Arabs and Israelis have not been able to resolve their conflict, one 17-year-old girl said the answer is one word: land. Both sides claim the land belongs to them.
It's scary to be here because of them. And this is not their country, it's our country.
The Jewish don't want peace. But we want peace.
The land where the Peacemaker team hopes to make a difference has been divided since 1948, when the modern state of Israel was created. Early Jewish settlers who were fleeing anti-Semitism and persecution, and later the Nazi Holocaust, had much support from the Western world for establishing their new homeland here in what used to be called Palestine. Israel's War of Independence, which is celebrated every year by Israelis as a triumph of survival and democracy, is called El Nakba, or the catastrophe by Palestinians. Nearly 800,000 Palestinians became instant refugees. They were driven out of their homes and their lands and villages. Hundreds of Arab villages were confiscated or destroyed, and their residents have not been allowed to return. The area of conflict stretches from the Sea of Galilee and the border with Lebanon in the north to the Judean hills and valleys that reach to the Dead Sea. To the south is the Sinai Desert and border with Egypt. More than 6.5 million Jews and 1 1/3 million Arabs live inside the current borders of the State of Israel. Another 3 million Arabs live in the West Bank and Gaza, or what they call the occupied Palestinian territories. Altogether, the area in turmoil is about the size of the state of New Jersey. Palestinian religious leaders told a peace conference in Jerusalem that lasting peace will be difficult if Palestinians are not allowed to return to their homes.
I can't forget that my yearning is to return back to my village and to rebuild my father's house.
That subject of the land, you can always go back, like in this history, and see, like, you can't really know who's been that first.
The lack of peace is hurting both Arabs and Jews. Since the last Palestinian uprising that began in the year 2000, more than 3,000 Palestinians have been killed, and about 1,000 Israelis have lost their lives in violent acts. The economy of Israel and the Palestinians is suffering, and both sides are hurt from the lack of tourists who used to flock to the streets of Old Jerusalem. Mistrust and suspicion is deep among many Arab shopkeepers who need Israeli identification cards to travel and do business in the land of their birth.
It's upside down. Before, we have a freedom to talk, to go, to come back, everything. But here, nothing at all. They tie our hand and they stopped our tongues. They don't want us to talk about anything.
It's getting worse. Like, you used to have, like, people going to the West Bank and just eating hummus, no problem, just going there and hanging out. But now it's a bit different.
This is Hebron, a city that is more than 7,000 years old, a city that is now in the middle of Palestinian land, but which is regularly patrolled by Israeli troops, who keep a close eye on its mostly Arab population of about 150,000. The Israeli soldiers are here to protect about 400 armed Israeli settlers who have taken over an old part of the city. They claim it belongs to their ancestors and was given to them by God through Abraham as part of the Promised Land thousands of years ago.
So a lot of that arguing about land is about what God gave us and what is ours.
Jerry Levin and his wife often walk through the rubble-strewn streets of Hebron and other villages, risking their own lives to help ease the hostility between Arabs and Jews. The Levins are grandparents. They could have retired to a comfortable life in their hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. But they are now spending much of their time trying to become peacemakers in one of the most volatile regions on earth.
I don't think in turning the situation around here immediately, or even in the short or midterm, but I think we're part of a movement that's trying to that is succeeding one person at a time or two people at a time, succeeding in demonstrating that there is a non-violent way to deal with conflict.
He could have easily been retired by now and living in a luxury home somewhere in the U.S. or wherever he chooses to be. But he has chosen the very, very difficult path and very dangerous path of being with the Palestinians, facing the Israeli occupation every day, facing the Israeli military continuously, putting his life in danger for the sake of Palestinians as he escorts men, women, and children across checkpoints and so on, and be a voice for the injustice that happens here.
If Jerry Levin's name sounds familiar, it is because he spent a number of years as a television news director in Birmingham and in Houston before becoming a Middle East correspondent for CNN. In 1984, Levin was taken hostage by kidnappers in Lebanon. He was held captive and tied to a radiator by the Hezbollah, or Party of God, for almost a year. After his wife traveled throughout the Middle East pleading for his release, he was allowed to escape.
I had a great deal of agreement with a lot of what they wanted to achieve. Was no reason for me coming out to hate the entire Arab world or the entire Islamic culture any more than I hate the entire Israeli culture. I don't.
More than 20 years after his captivity, Jerry Levin and his wife Sis are back in the area of turmoil trying to shed light on what they believe are obstacles to a lasting peace. the Levins took a group of Americans on a tour of Israel's occupied territories. First, they show how difficult it is for Palestinians to travel from one part of the West Bank to another.
Every road in and out either has a checkpoint or a barricade.
After they cross this checkpoint near Bethlehem, the Levins have to flag down a van with special license plates. This allows them to travel on roads which most Palestinians are not allowed to use.
This road was not here 10 years ago. This is the bypass roads. These roads connect settlements. This is a reversal of the historic highway system, which for thousands of years led right to and through every Arab village. Why not? That's what roads are for. All these settlements were not here for thousands of years. They've all been built within the last 30 years. This has all been conquered. This is the occupied territory, so it's all occupied.
Well, Israel is moving off of the Palestinian territories, except they need some time to go in there to keep the peace.
When the Israelis put up barricades, school principal Zalika Muhtaseb has to climb down from the roof of her home and travel through back alleys in order to get around the Israeli blockades and open her school. Then she has to make an uphill climb to return home.
Sometimes, and many times because of the Jewish holidays, they close the gates and they do not allow us to go out. So the alternative is this.
The school that Zalika runs is named after Abraham, the biblical patriarch who is revered by both Arabs and Jews as a founder of their nation. Sis and Jerry Levin have made friends with the children of the Abraham School. Despite being surrounded by troops and barriers, Sis and Zalika have teamed up to teach nonviolence to the young students.
So they're blood brothers, and they have the same father. And so that feeling of it's one family, it's a dysfunctioning family that needs to be healed and to stop fighting.
If we go back to our religion, we are not terrorists. Our religion is called Islam, and we start greeting with each other, Salam alaikum, peace be upon you. People who use this, peace be upon you, are not terrorists.
I think too many people do bad things in the name of God, and either the Quran or something, the Bible provides them the power to do really bad things, and so this is the name of God.
And as some Israeli women said to me, what if we got the whole thing? What if we gained the whole thing and lost our soul? Because that's what's happening in the eagerness to make God into a real estate agent. People are forgetting their common humanity, and they need to get together and to live together.
But achieving peace between Palestinians and Israelis is not easy. Right after the Levins left Zalika's school, soldiers were searching the school bags of children returning home. And Zalika found what is known as a rubber bullet on a nearby street.
It is metal inside and coated with rubber. They shoot rubber bullets, live bullets, whatever they can use.
Zalika's own family is often detained and questioned by Israeli authorities. This time, Zalika's mother said that her son was taken into custody.
And then one of the border police commanders said if she doesn't keep quiet and go home, we will put her in a plastic bag. Putting her in a plastic bag means killing her.
When trouble breaks out, Jerry Levin often intervenes with authorities to calm tensions. He navigates some of the most dangerous hotspots in Israel and the Palestinian territories, trying to promote peace. Jerry Levin's office is in a rundown building near rubble and barbed wire in the Arab section of Hebron. From here, he sends messages to the outside world about the latest problems dividing Arabs and Jews, and he often brings visitors to see the situation firsthand. On this day, Jerry Levin escorts an American delegation from every church a peace church. He leads them through the Arab and Jewish sectors of this heavily guarded city. Many streets here in Hebron are now deserted. Shops that flourished with activity are now closed. In one area of the old marketplace, there is heavy wire mesh above the shops to keep debris and chunks of concrete from falling from the homes of Jewish settlers to the streets below. Anyone who ventures in the old part of the city in the area between Jewish settlers and Arabs is not far from the watchful eye of Israeli soldiers. Levin recalls a time when he was confronted by a militant settler.
A father, a young Israeli settler father, came down the street to the entrance of the yeshiva holding the hand of maybe his 4 or 5 year little boy. He saw my red cap across the street, and suddenly he turned around and he started spitting across the street at me. He went, "Spit, spit." And then he screamed at me and said, "Get out of here. Our God will kill your God."
Some of those visiting the streets of Old Hebron for the first time find it hard to understand how the people here survive under these conditions.
I don't see how they can live here, anybody. Desolate, abandoned, no life, people sitting, nothing even to do, to spend time, the men just sitting.
Nice to meet you. To help promote an atmosphere that may make reconciliation possible, Sis Levin is encouraging Israeli and Arab school children to become future peace builders. At this private school in Bethlehem, where some children have lost their parents or other family members, the young students greet visitors with songs of peace.
Father Abraham has many sons. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just clap our hands.
At a nearby Catholic school, teachers say they often see fear in the eyes of children who have been exposed to a daily dose of violence. Some of these children have seen injuries to friends and family and have watched the destruction of homes.
They have fear from the outside, from the bombards around, from the shooting.
For these children, the reality of peace will be much harder to achieve than singing about it. But their teachers remain hopeful.
And they have a strong feeling to live in this world in peace.
They are loved and they are nurtured and they are taught and they are growing stronger every day because of you.
Yeah.
After school, some of the children have to return to crowded and run-down refugee camps where they have lived since birth. These camps have been open since 1948, when Israel was founded and hundreds of Palestinians fled their homes.
The bomb just came here from the Apache.
Ahmed El-Azi said he almost became a victim of an Israeli bullet during the 2002 uprising when Israeli troops stormed this refugee camp in Bethlehem. The outside walls of Ahmed's home still bear the scars of the Israeli attack. He says a young man in his 20s was killed by Israeli soldiers who later demolished his family home. Another victim of violence was a 14-year-old girl who lived in a small house down the street. Her mother says her daughter did nothing to deserve to die. She was hit by a stray bullet. The Israelis say they only strike back when their people are injured or killed by Palestinians. This continuing cycle of violence has not only resulted in the loss of life and property, but also in the loss of progress towards a lasting peace.
Yeah, I feel very sad. I feel sometimes the pain and the agony inside my heart because we want to live in peace and we want peace, but they don't want to give us at least our normal civil rights.
All they want is take and not to give. They got to give something, the Palestinians. They lost. They declared war. They lost. Unfortunately, they got to give.
Jerry Levin and his wife are always trying to find new ways to bring the two sides together. Young people are invited to their home in Bethlehem to talk about the struggle that they and their people are facing.
And you see a wall that separates you from your friend, or maybe you from your school. And it's not letting us to go anywhere.
I don't want to see people suffering, because this makes me cry always. When I look at the place where I live and I think in my mind, how is the wall will be.
This youth group is called Remember the Innocents.
peace is a very hard thing to get, but if both sides come to understand each other more and try harder than this situation, they would have peace in a jiffy, in a second. I mean, they would find a solution to this problem.
The new separation wall being built by Israel has now surrounded the town of Bethlehem. On Palm Sunday, some Arab Christians tried to ride donkeys from Bethlehem to Jerusalem in commemoration of Christ's peaceful entry into Jerusalem. But they were stopped by Israeli soldiers at the outskirts of Bethlehem and forced to turn back because the soldiers said the Arabs were a security risk and had no permit. Some Israeli residents say they have to take tough measures to protect themselves, and it will take time before years of violence and mistrust can be overcome.
The Jewish people have just as much right. They have more right or less right. It's irrelevant. They have a right to be the people. They're human beings. The Arabs the same way. They have a right to be here. They, you know, born here and raised here. What are you going to do? They aren't going to disappear. The Jews aren't going to disappear. So we have to live together.
Philip Sodi, a construction contractor who is not Jewish, has lived in Israel since 1975. He has come to understand why Israelis are constantly on their guard.
But people just hate each other, and they think that by force or by whatever, they're going to, you know, and unless there's a change of heart, there is no hope. There is no hope.
Many Palestinians say both sides need to find ways to put away hatred and distrust.
You can love the Jewish, but please don't tell me. يعني تكرهنيش. Don't tell me, please.
Don't hurt you.
Don't hurt me, yes.
Okay. Love the Jewish people, but
Yes.
don't hurt you.
Yes. Don't hurt the other people, the same Arab people, Palestinian people.
I think that as people get to know one another on a one-to-one basis, a lot of that hatred dissipates.
Both Israelis and Palestinians see encouraging signs now that there has been a reduction in violence and the removal of some checkpoints and the turning over of more Palestinian land to the Palestinian authorities.
Yeah, I think from both sides they have to realize that there was enough killing and enough, you know, suffering and daily struggle, and I think they have to realize now that they have to talk seriously and find a solution.
I'm optimistic, but only for the long term, not the short term. Short term it cannot work. It's not going to work in the short term. We have to wait. Maybe in our lifetime, but it's going to take years.
Essentially, your problems would be over if you return the West Bank and Gaza to the Palestinians.
All Israeli settlements were removed from the Gaza Strip, and its population of over 1 million Arabs is now under Palestinian control after 38 years of Israeli occupation. However, more than 250,000 Israelis remain on the West Bank in over 80 settlements in what Palestinians claim is their land. And the Israelis continue to be protected by barriers and soldiers. Still, there are many on both sides who have hope for the future.
We saw with Gaza that, you know, it was difficult, but we withdrew from Gaza. So I think we can do more of it if we'll find it appropriate and we'll trust the other side.
The majorities in both people want peace very much, but there is violent minorities in the Israeli side and violent minorities in the Palestinian side, and they are terrorizing both people.
It's happening now. There are many. They're certainly not in the majority, but there are thousands and thousands of Palestinians and Jews, in one way or another, are not treating each other violently, are treating each other with respect.
My daughter is 12 years old now. I hope when she will be 18 and go to the army, we will have peace. I think so. I hope so.
And therefore, the only hope that we have really is in God, in the God who created this world, in the God who created the peoples, and in the God who loves people, who loves his creation.
During a trip to the Sea of Galilee, Jerry Levin and his visitors stopped near the site where they believe Jesus Christ preached the Sermon on the Mount 2,000 years ago. They focused on his call, "Blessed are the peacemakers." Those who are struggling for peace say they know there's a long way to go before Arabs and Jews will live in peaceful coexistence. But as a leader of the Peacemaker team put it, if we can't get it right here in the Holy Land, we can't get it right anywhere else in the world. This is Steve Petrou reporting from Jerusalem.